What's going on, everyone? Bass here. So now that we are a couple days out, it is time to go over the PFF grades for the Week 7 game versus the Washington football game, that victory 24-10. And if you're new here, we'll be going over the winners or the high grades and also going over the losers or the low grades on both offense and defense via PFF. And if this is the first time you're seeing this, I do this after every game. I go over the PFF grades, so definitely consider subscribing if this is something you are interested in. And then also please leave a like down below. It definitely helps out my channel a lot. So let's not waste any more time. We're going to start with the defensive winners today because the defense just played so well against the Washington football team. Definitely their best defensive game this year. So let's bring up the screen and we start with our highest graded defensive player on the Packers this week, and that is Rasul Douglas. Also his highest graded game of his career. Now, I just put out a separate video on how much Rasul Douglas has helped this Green Bay defense since he was signed on October 6th. So if you want to go watch that video, definitely click the link right above. So Rasul Douglas ended this game with an 88.3 overall grade, an 88.2 run defense grade, and an 84.9 coverage grade. He only allowed one reception on 2 targets for only 4 yards, a quarterback rating of 56.3. He also had 4 tackles and 1 forced fumble. And Rasul Douglas has been great filling in ever since this Green Bay defensive backfield has just been so banged up with the injuries to Jair Alexander and Kevin King, and then them having to be forced to put Isaac Yiadom in the starting lineup, and that ended very, very quickly. And luckily, we had Rasul Douglas to take his spot, and he's been filling in very nicely because Isaac Yiadom is trash. And I honestly think Rasul Douglas should remain cornerback 2 so long Jair Alexander is out next to Eric Stokes. Kevin King may return this Thursday against Arizona Cardinals, but it's with that shoulder injury. Kevin King has had a plethora of shoulder injuries throughout his career, always wearing that shoulder brace. And Rasul Douglas has been hot. He has been the good outside corner opposite Eric Stokes ever since he came in for Isaac Yiadom. So I think they should stick with the hot hand, stick with the guy who's been playing well, playing physical, and that is Rasul Douglas. So second on this list, we have Devonte Campbell, and I'm honestly at this point wondering if he will be on pretty much every episode at this point. He was the second highest graded Packer by just slightly under Rasul Douglas, and it was also his highest grade of the year. He had an 88.1 overall grade, a 93.8 run defense grade, an 82.8 tackle grade, and a 66.7 coverage grade. Devonte Campbell made 8 tackles while missing 0 of them, 4 stops, forced 2 fumbles, and allowed only 1 reception for 4 yards. And I really just can't say this enough. I don't even care if I sound like a broken record, but he has truly transformed this defense, and Joe Barry has done such a great job, coaching up Devonte Campbell. Campbell is currently still the number 1 PFF rated linebacker with at least 50% of the snaps, and at this rate in the year, it's really not that close. Campbell has that 89.2 overall grade, which is very, very elite, and the next best for a minimum of 50% of snaps this year at inside linebacker is Alexander Johnson with an 81.1. So again, it's not really close. Devonte Campbell has been the best linebacker in the NFL this year, and it almost sounds like a dream as a Packers fan to say that. Last but not least, on the defensive winners here, we have Rashan Gary. Again, he's on this list a lot. He had a great game. He was the 3rd highest graded Packer defender here with an 82.0 overall grade, a 90.1 pass rush grade. He did miss 2 tackles. That's why he does have that low tackle grade of that 29.1. And Rashan Gary had 10. Yes, 10 pressures. He's never done that in his career. So Rashan Gary was an absolute menace rushing the passer. He also had 2 sacks, 7 hurries, and a forced fumble, and he's just been so disruptive this year. Rashan Gary is currently 5th in total pressures for all edge players in the NFL this year, and he is also the 14th highest edge rusher graded this year as well. And he's done a great job stepping up in the absence of Zadarius Smith and now Preston Smith. Hopefully Preston Smith can come back this Thursday. Obviously they signed Whitney Merciless to kind of help out with that depth. Jonathan Garvin has been pretty good as well. And before I go into the defensive losers, I do want to give a shout out to pretty much the whole defense now. I do have a couple guys that didn't play well given they have not many snaps. But I just want to give a shout out to the defense because they played such a great game. Like I said, definitely their best played game as a whole defense this year. Dean Lowry, Shannon Sullivan, Kenny Clark, Eric Stokes, and Adrian Amos all graded above a 70 plus in this game. So again, just a very, very nice performance by this defense. Now, as I said, I do have to talk about a couple bad players. This is the winners and losers, so I do have to do it. But given both of these players had less than 18 snaps on Sunday. First of which is safety Henry Black. Black, who's actually been pretty decent this year. Week 3 didn't have a good game, and then this one as well was definitely his worst game. He was the lowest graded defender this week with a 25.2 overall grade, 55.7 run defense grade, 29.0 tackle grade, and a 25.7 coverage grade, and just a really bad game by Henry Black here. He allowed 5 receptions on 6 targets for 62 yards and a quarterback rating of 109.7. And as I said, Henry Black's been pretty average this year when filling in at safety. Just a really bad game from him. Probably don't expect him to have many of these going forward. Now, next up is someone who has had many of these in pretty much the whole year except for one game, and that is Tyler Lancaster. As you see, his only good game here against San Francisco, but he had a low grade yet again in this game, a 45.9 overall grade, 49.2 run defense grade, 69.2 tackle grade, and a 54.7 pass rush grade. Only stat he recorded in this game was 1 tackle. And this is a reoccurring theme with Tyler Lancaster. Not many snaps, as you see, 18 this game, 19 last game, 13, yada, 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 and so on and so forth. But with the snaps he gets, he's just not good. And as I said before, the Packers might want to look into adding a veteran at that defensive line position at some point this year. Now flipping over to the offensive side, and the number 1 graded offensive player this week was Aaron Rodgers. Is also his highest graded game on the year. He had an 86.9 overall grade. Aaron Rodgers went 27 for 35, 274 yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. And there's not much else I really need to say about Aaron Rodgers. Not much I really have to talk about. We all know what he can do and how well he plays. He's been playing at an MVP level yet again this year. All right, so now moving on to the second highest graded player on offense this week, and that is Big Dog for a 3rd week in a row on this list. He had an 85.8 overall grade, an 88.8 receiving grade, a 72.8 pass block grade, and a 65.1 run block grade. Big Dog also had 3 catches for 31 yards, and I really love how the Green Bay Packers and Matt LaFleur are using him this year. It seems like Mercedes Lewis is getting a lot more pass-catching opportunities this year than he was last year, and I really just love seeing him catch a pass and then proceed to run over defenders. Lastly, on the offensive winners list here, we have tackle, guard, center, pretty much any player on the offensive line, Elgton Jenkins here. Now, he was the 4th highest graded offensive player. Devonte Adams was the 3rd, but I did want to give credit here to Elgton Jenkins for stepping up at this left tackle position. Jenkins finished with a 75.4 overall grade, which included an 84.3 pass block grade and a 63.7 run block grade. He only allowed 1 pressure and 0 sacks, and that's against the likes of Chase Young and Montez Sweat, who are 2 really good pass rushers. Now, this might be his last game at left tackle, but he filled in nicely in box absence, even though he was hurt a few games, and then Josh Nijman had to come in, who also filled in nicely. But he might not even be returning to his natural left guard position at this point because Josh Myers is out and placed on that short-term IR. So my guess is they'll move him to center. But like I said, he plays anywhere on the offensive line and does a damn good job at it. And just a quick shout out to Robert Tonyan, who had a nice day. He had a 71.0 overall grade, his first good graded game since week 2. Shout out Robert Tonyan. All right, so now I got to talk about a couple offensive losers in this game, one of which being A.J. Dillon. Just a rough game for the quad father here. A.J. Dillon was the lowest graded offensive player this week, and actually his lowest grade of his career. He had a very terrible 26.7 overall grade, a 27.1 receiving grade, and a 30.0 run grade, and that's because he only had 3 attempts for 6 yards, and 2 of those attempts resulted in fumbles. A.J. Dillon was generally just off on Sunday. I expect a big bounce back game from A.J. Dillon this upcoming Thursday. He's a great player, and the Arizona Cardinals are ranked 31st in yards per carry allowed against a running back, so I definitely expect a good bounce back game here. Lastly for today, we have guard Bryce Newman, which unlike A.J. Dillon is on this part of the list a lot this year. As you see, his only good graded game this year against Cincinnati. But today, he was the 2nd lowest graded offensive player, and that seems like a recurring theme being down there at the bottom. He had a 35.1 overall grade, 40.5 pass block grade, and a 31.6 run block grade. He allowed only 1 pressure, but he just generally didn't look good out there on Sunday. And generally, Bryce Newman really just hasn't turned it around. I think it was around like week 3, 4. I was like, oh, hopefully he turns it around or else he's going to be the odd man out. And he really just hasn't done that. Good game against Cincinnati, like I said. But other than that, all pretty bad games. But he still should remain in the starting lineup. I was talking about him being the odd man out, but that was before Josh Myers got hurt. But now that Josh Myers is hurt, and who knows until when, for next at least 2 weeks, Elgton Jenkins is, like I said, probably going to move to that center spot, and that leaves Bryce Newman and Jon Runyan at guards. Now, after that, yes, I still think Bryce Newman is the odd man out. Runyan just has played better than him, but I guess we'll see when that happens. But that does it for today's video. I want to hear your thoughts down in the comments below. Do these grades surprise you? Do you agree with them? Do you disagree with them? Just leave a comment down below. And if you want to hear anyone else's grade on this game, also just leave a comment and I'll try to comment back what their grade was. But on that note, I'll catch you on the next one. And as always, go Pack Go.